Hello, everybody. I'm Will,
And I'm Kristen.
and this is So I'm Watching Riverdale, Season 6, Episode 22?
Two. Chapter
22.
1, yeah, Chapter 117, The Night of the Comet.
This episode was phenomenal.
Okay, oh my god.
It was so good.
I have so much to say.
Yeah, why?
So much. Okay, it was amazing. It was absurd.
Sure. But
I
no,
loved it. I loved every minute of it.
And quite honestly, it was about our characters.
Exactly.
And it was about Riverdale. And that's the thing that I'm just like, if Riverdale was about Riverdale, like they say that a lot of times,
Yeah.
but they don't show us that. And everybody, they weren't fighting amongst each other. There wasn't infighting. There wasn't trying to make one of our main characters a villain or whatever. And outside of that, we had already dealt with Percival, so the villain was abstract.
Right.
It was so good. I just like it quite literally is everything that I ever wanted.
The whole town is basically under the dome. It's like surrounded by an invisible barrier. Perfect.
I love the Stephen King stuff this season, and there was a couple like I literally was like, how are they going to work it the clown into this? Which I mean, you definitely can, but that's such a high profile, such a big thing. Yeah. And I love that we get it as an aside when they went to go see it at the Bijou, and it was like an homage. It was so great. This plot with Archie was so good.
In this episode?
Yes.
Yeah.
And his arc this season, and especially in the last couple episodes, it went from being about him as this like normal high school student with dreams to then completely losing him.
Right.
Like there was a point in season 3 or whatever where he could have been gone. It wouldn't matter. And it probably would have taken a couple weeks to notice.
100%. I honestly think it's like since the age jump, because I remember, was it the beginning of this season or was it in season 5 where I basically was like, ever since they like got older, Archie is so much more interesting. He's the only one of them. It was like him and Betty who felt like they had actually aged into a character as opposed to just still playing the same character, but we say they're 25.
Yes, and the show, he's the leader, but the show is not about him.
Right.
And that was, I think, one of the things they were sort of grappling with. And the way that he had this arc with Betty where it was so sweet. He tried to propose to her. She was like, oh, it's not no, but this isn't the issue that needs solving. And when she had that conversation with him where she's like, you cannot save everybody, like you will die trying to be this like version of yourself that you have created in your head. And so he was like, I need to fight harder. Got it. And so he like ran to the barrier, to the dome that you said they're under. And in typical Archie fashion, his big plan was to just smash it with a hammer. He just was like going to town for God knows how long.
Unbelievable.
Betty calls in the reinforcements. Mary Andrews. I just love how this show, she's got this Georgina Sparks quality where we bring her in for premieres and finales.
Less chaotic than Georgina.
Oh, absolutely.
But
I mean, she's not chaotic.
Okay,
but
she's not the chaos, though.
No.
Like, the chaos is happening, but she's not bringing it.
Mm-hmm. But she has the second beautiful scene with Archie where it just like it really it feels like the show is gaining in more ways than one. It feels like it's gaining this weird like third or fourth life.
I agree.
Which I'm sort of like,
yeah.
We'll touch on the ending.
Yeah. Oh my god! I can't wait to talk about the ending.
So they're under the dome. And to the rest of the world, the comet is just passing over. So I guess it would be just destroying Riverdale. That was sort of like what happened. And so they think that Cheryl can use her Phoenix fire powers, because comets are ice, and she can basically sort of melt it. And Cheryl had a line of dialogue where she was like, did she say banal? Or basic? She was like, that's really basic, but intriguing. Or like,
well, because they also had to wake up Abigail in order to ask her, like, opinion and advice.
Who was helpful?
No ulterior motive, seemingly, unless the thing at the end is to do with her somehow. But even still, it's not overtly evil. So
to make this deal, Abigail wants to spend one more carnal night with Thomasina.
Abigail just wants to fuck. Abigail's like, my earthly realm for fucking.
And we got it. I mean, it wasn't like graphic, but I was a little bit like, oh my.
Yeah.
And so Cheryl has to talk Tony into allowing Thomasina and Abigail to use their bodies as vessels.
It takes no convincing. Tony's like, whatever helps, Cheryl.
It was like, do you remember that like College Humor video that was about like the button?
If you push this button, two things will happen. One, someone somewhere in the world who you don't know will die.
Okay.
And two, you just pushed the button. You didn't let me finish.
Sorry.
Someone somewhere in the world will die.
Got it.
Don't hit it again.
Where it's like, if you press this button, someone you don't know somewhere will. And he's like, I didn't finish explaining. It was like that, but so we had this like dreamy montage. Also, the visual effects and like the camera work, like that shot. Now I know why they phoned in those fire effects 2 weeks ago.
Sure,
because that like shot of the souls going around them, was great. And so that works out.
Yep.
And the baby Anthony is now big Anthony.
Unbelievable. Hard no, thanks for me. It's a hard no.
Well, see, apparently we're doing it.
He also is just arbitrarily, he's like 7 months old and he's Serpent King now.
By blood. He's like, Fangs was like old school, like tattooing him with like
a poke and stick tattoo.
Yeah.
He also has 0 life experience. He didn't earn being Serpent King. Are they just gonna let him take over and Tony and Fangs are gonna be like, whatever?
Like when Tabitha aged him up, did she age everything? I have no concept of her powers. Because what in the life in a day fuckery was that scene with Jughead?
It was nice.
But did they live out their lives in like a minute?
I think it was either that or it was just sort of a like, we get to see what could have been kind of a thing.
Okay, it was cool. It looked cool. I liked that they watched Titanic first.
Okay, I'm sorry. I love the movie Titanic. I think it's a great movie. If I have 12 hours left on Earth, I'm not using a quarter of that time to watch fucking Titanic.
Making your pretentious boyfriend pretend to like Titanic.
Because of course he's never seen it. Because he likes Cameron's earlier works. At this point, that is one of Cameron's earlier works.
Well, so
he's 25 years old.
And Jughead, Cole Sprouse through Jughead was phoning in. They're like, yeah, babe, that was amazing. He didn't like that movie. He didn't give 2 shits about that movie.
That was all for her.
Oh, also, she's like maybe selling the pops to Alexandra.
She's franchising.
Yeah, to Alexandra Cabot, who managed to get into town.
Yeah.
Avoid all of this, because once you're in town, you can't leave. So they had to explain that to Mary. No one explained it to Alexandra, and it just seemingly worked out. Although, is she now in the 50s?
I have no idea.
That would be fascinating. The
Probably
way
not.
that Katie Keene is part of this universe.
Because it's only one reference to Katie Keene from this episode. Because later in the episode, Veronica says, no, I mean, this was only one of them, because Veronica's like, I'll go shopping with Katie Keene in New York. Yeah. And if I get out of this, I'm going to go shopping with Katie Keene. And I'm like, that's That's your big goal in life?
I'm all over the place, but it was sublime. One of the things, so Cheryl's going to melt the comet, but it'll take all of her power, and because she is the living Phoenix Force, if she dies one or more, they were very ambiguous about that. I was sort of like, because it's all or nothing in my mind. I was like, what do you mean, like, one of them might die? Like,
it's because she basically was like, one or all of your loved ones that I've resurrected will also die. And then she proceeded to list every single one that she brought back.
3/4 of the cast. But I'm saying, it's like, if the logic is that if she's no longer living, then the magic doesn't work for all of them. It's like, how does it only not work for Alice? Like, I don't know. It was very funny.
I see. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Very strange. Alice had a good scene, a sweet scene with Betty and Polly where she admitted to being a terrible mother. They swept it under the rug, but I'm like, well, at least that's been said.
Yeah.
And so Veronica, I've loved her this season. I want her to continue this way. She swears that she's going to take time out for herself and focus on herself, which anytime a girlfriend of mine has said anything like that, it means a long-term boyfriend that is very immediately and very bad for her. So we'll see where that goes. In spite of how much I've enjoyed it, they were sort of like scraping the barrel for plot for her in this episode, because she really only had Reggie to deal with. And apologies to everyone. People were very upset that we forgot that Reggie was in the final battle with Percival last week, and Percival turned him into a giant doll.
Yeah.
Which, because did Reggie have powers? Reggie doesn't have powers.
No.
So that another chink in that plot armor.
Not great. And it ends up meaning very little.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. But yeah, so Veronica's giving him back the casino because apparently it's his.
No, she's giving it to him.
But she was like, it was your idea, so I'm giving it back to you. And she's going to focus on her absinthe business, which, I mean, yeah, they've said those words. So
sure. Whatever. What happened to the maple rum? What are we doing? Veronica is just the rest of the series is gonna be her learning how to distill every type of alcohol.
I don't know what the point of the Hiram portrait was, because Reggie saved it from.
Yeah, I think when she like kissed it and it turned all portrait of Dorian Gray is when she realized that.
Well, it wasn't. It was well after that.
Oh, then I have literally no idea. I was real stupid.
If it was a curtain call for and it's funny because it's a testament to Mark Consuelos's charm, because I actually felt deep in the cockles. I felt fondness towards the effigy, towards his image. So it wasn't anything Mark was doing. It was truly the writing and plotting of the character of Hiram that we hated so much.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, and so then she figures out that she can distill and transfer all of their powers to Cheryl via a kiss, which is not queer baiting. This episode was so gay, was so sapphic.
Yeah, I could have done without that little exchange.
The wink?
Queer baiting.
Okay.
The kiss was, I loved the kiss, but it's a little too wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The like Cheryl being like, that's queer baiting, and Veronica having to be like, no, it's saving the world.
The writers had to they were trying to get out in front of it, and whatever. You cannot please everyone.
Yeah, so I mean, I wish they hadn't tried. They're not going to anyway.
No, true. But it's just that kind of like typical Riverdale shenanigans. I mean, this is a show where not 20 minutes into the pilot episode, Betty and Veronica made out. So it's like, I'm sort of fine with it. Same with the music. Like, I cackled when they started singing Billie Eilish. And I was like, of course. Yeah. I love it so much. Why wouldn't everyone be singing right now?
I'm just surprised it wasn't When the Party's Over. It was literally called The End of the World or something.
Where do we go?
Oh God.
From here. Yeah, so they transferred their powers. It was very effective. It worked. Cheryl turned into Dark Phoenix / Scarlet Witch and went out and levitated. It was really cool.
It was awesome.
She stopped the comet. And
she was wearing one of the least impressive outfits she's had all season.
Yeah.
I gotta say it.
But now you said it, because I was just fine to take the silhouette because of the aforementioned.
Sure, the silhouette, of course.
Scarlet Witch comparison. But now that you say that, I'm like, there's no reason why that shouldn't have been lace and satin lined and like bell sleeves and just
all
like
kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like we maybe glossed over a couple of things. I took notes this time. Okay, go ahead then.
No. Well, you start.
Well, we also got some. I guess first of all, I want to touch on the fact that Archie went to Veronica for a ring for Betty to propose, and she said, "I have something in my personal collection that Betty will go crazy for," and then we see it, and it is the plainest solitaire ring you've ever seen in your life.
It was so tasteful. Like, it was so. I mean,
Betty, beautiful, but it's just like Betty's gonna go crazy for that. I don't think so.
No, that checked for me. That 100% checked for me and Betty and Archie. She would not want something. She doesn't want a Glamourget ring.
No, of course not.
Also, I missed that scene. I was like trying to get ready. She's like done police copping.
I guess because Agent Drake also called, which was another thing that I was going to bring up. And
traffic.
Yeah, the two of them were basically asked to head the serial killer division of the FBI. And Betty was like, I think I'm going to put this part of my life behind me. And she was like, is it because of Archie? And Betty was like, no, it's because of me, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Also, Heather cut out.
Yeah.
I'm a little furious that the show has insisted that she was a character who was on this show
all season.
They finally bent me to their will, and they were like, her heart's not in it. Like,
my heart's gone out on it. I can't.
Like, I was more invested in Minerva for 3 episodes. And
yeah.
It was. I was like, I guess this is happening, and they're like, it's not though. So I will see.
Well, it's apparently because Tony and Cheryl are legit soulmates, and when Heather was doing the spell, she saw it.
It checked. I just I went from being like, who the hell is this chick, to being like, not Heather.
Not Heather. Take my eyes, but not the shirt.
Britta was there untangling the knots. I would have been really good at that. I'm a really good knot untangler.
Untire.
Yeah, so they have stated now that Cheryl and Tony are in game. I don't know what this means for Fangs, especially when you factor in how dismally they handled Kevin. And I mean, Moose was there. He was there. We hinted at it earlier. I'll go ahead and say it now for reason, but in defeating this comet and the combining of powers, it seems that Cheryl shifted them back in time. So everybody is in the proper 1955, the day after James Dean died. And
crazy.
None of them, except for Jughead, know this.
Yeah.
It's brilliant, especially given the origins of the Riverdale comic and the way the show has slipped into sci-fi fantasy. I am so curious if the 1950s of it all is going to factor in at all.
Yeah.
Because that would be a way to actually give Kevin some material. Depending on how they do it, I wouldn't mind regressing the LGBT tropes to the 50s.
Sure. A little, at least.
Depending on how they do it. My kingdom to put him in a room with Betty, Cheryl, or Veronica.
Don't get me started.
It's astonishing. I mean, yes, he's gay, and yes, gay men prefer the company of other men, but the amount of times that he is constantly just surrounded by like coal miners, like it's just sort of like what
coal
are you
miners
even,
like the entire police force.
what are you even doing? So again, Moose was there. I would be excited.
Didn't even have a line.
I would be excited if I thought that anything was going to come of it, but and yeah, I mean, figure something out for Fangs. Let's let them thruple. Let's let the three of them just rail each other in like a 1950s like.
It's not a gay throuple, but he was in a throuple at the beginning of the season with Tony and Fangs. Tony, Fangs, and Kevin were in a fucking throuple. I don't care what you say.
Or I'm trying to think. Were there any other? I know there were.
There were just another startling glimpse into the daddy issues on Reggie, because he said if he lived, he was going to get a dog and name it Vader.
Yeah, where was his dad? Why have we spent all of this time pretending that his dad is a character or factors in?
No idea. And he was nowhere. And even there was something about the way that Reggie was talking that made me think his dad had already died. And I was like, off screen and not even a mention of it?
We'll get a sentence in episode 3 where it's like, ever since my dad died. Honestly, that's all of my notes. Did you have any other notes?
No, that was basically it. It was really good. It was a good finale. And I think part of it is part of the weird stuff with Cheryl's powers not being able to like keep everybody alive. I think they didn't know if they were going to get canceled or not when they wrote some of this. So I think that was sort of a hedging their bets kind of thing, where they're like, if we get canceled, you can kind of imagine that one or all of them died. If not, then they can still come back.
Possibly. I mean, they're the CW's flagship show at this point, so I would be astonished if they weren't given proper notice. No, the plotting was tight. The pacing was good. The balance between sincerity and absurdity. Like, I just love when we get to spend time with these characters, spending time with each other and working together towards a goal. Like it hit all of those things that I so desperately want from the show. And again, I know that you have to introduce conflict, and I frequently enjoy that, but I think that they need to realize and understand that this is about a group of people who live in a town that's very Americana.
Right.
And then the secondary aspect is explorations of genre.
Yeah. I think
if they can keep those two things in mind, then we should be able to.
Yeah, because I also think what is so interesting is that it is about like a group of friends too. And so when you're introducing a conflict, it's more, in my opinion, aside from like personal drama, it's more important for my enjoyment for the conflict to come from the outside. So they have to put aside their personal drama and come together and fight the external conflict together. That's what's always exciting about shows like this. And it's something that they have really neglected in the past, where instead...
Well, in the middle.
Well, sure, in the middle. But also, like, mostly the middle, you're right. Because it just is, like, not as exciting when we're worrying about petty squabbles between teenagers when literally the fate of the world is at stake.
Well, and we've expanded beyond the core 4. Like I said, I mean, there's like 8, 9, 10 of them at any given moment. And I've just really, really enjoyed that. A bit of shameless self-promotion. But if you even remotely like any of this stuff, we have a book that we wrote called Fairy Tale. It is exactly like this, only it's about fairy tale characters. And they're wealthy people in a modern day society. So there's like cars and TVs and stuff. But it still has the deep fairy tale roots. And there still is traditional folklore elements and glamour and all that. So if you're even remotely into that sort of thing, we've got you. We've got you.
It's really good. And the Sleeping Beauty prince is a lot like Archie in season 3.
I'm so furious that because his hair is finally settled.
Yeah.
And KJ's already buzzed it. To the scalp.
Boo.
So
No.
I wanted to be like, and the first 5 comments will get a free ebook of Fairy Tale. Can we do that?
The first 5 comments have probably already bought it.
Comments 6 through 10 will get a free ebook.
All right, let's do it.
A Fairy Tale, if we can figure out how to do that.
Sure. Yeah, I'll figure it out.
We will maybe do that.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. This honestly, this was great.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. I hope that we can keep it up for season 7.
I'm optimistic. I'm not gonna lie. I'm optimistic.
I'm a little optimistic too.
So
it's the worst place to be.
Well, we got some time. I think it's January, so.
Yep.
So let us know what you think, and bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.